Hey there, I'm Anthony Romano, and this video is going to tell you about alternate day fasting muscle building. Okay, so I've had a lot of questions about this, and a lot of great comments as well from people about alternate day fasting, and this one's going to tell you how to build muscle, because today I basically have been fasted for an alternate day type of timeline, and I figured this is a great time to make this video. On that note, Keto Shred Program launch sale, New Year sale, is almost over. Less than a day, or maybe by the time this video is out, to get the launch price, the rock bottom lowest price I'll ever sell it at, the best fat loss tactics, especially for keto, with a bunch of other tools in there to also build muscle slightly as you're cutting. And just go check it out, okay, while the sale's still there. If you don't like it, if you're not happy, send me an email, 100% refund guarantee. Now, also, I have consultations with scheduling on my website now. So check that out as well if you're interested in an action plan consultation. I'm going to have a video on this shortly, but let's get into this video. Okay, so I'm trying to keep this one short, but the main thing here with alternate day fasting, people are wondering, can you build muscle while you're alternate day fasting? The answer is yes. It is slightly difficult. There's a lot of good work, which I've mentioned before in other videos, from Brad Pilon and also from Martin Birkin on lean gains, okay, building muscle, alternate day fasting. So how do you do this? Well, you generally have to, there's a lot of different ways. There's a lot of different permutations, but I'm going to just explain this in one basic way so you can apply it to any sort of schedule that you want to do. So the main strategy that I like to recommend if somebody is truly intent on doing this, because keep in mind, it is a more hardcore tactic. The main way to do it is, basically you'd fast for a full day, at least once a week, or you do or you just basically do an every other day you don't eat. Okay, that's the very aggressive way to do this. So I'm going to explain this as if you're taking the most aggressive approach. So if you're not eating every other day, what do you have to do? Well, for starters, like I say all the time, calories are only one side of the equation. They're only the quantitative side of the coin. Hormones and the other, qualitative effects you're doing are the other side of the coin. So keto, fasting, right, manipulating your food and protein intake in ways, and also carb intake and macro intake, to create certain hormonal effects. So if you are not eating every other day, your calorie intake for the week, your weekly calories are going to be cut in half. So you might be thinking, okay, so I just have to eat like a freaking animal on the days that I am eating. The main thing you want to do is you're definitely going to have to raise your protein intake dramatically on the days that you're eating, because even though if you get keto adapted, which is ultimately my primary recommendation for you to do before you do any sort of alternate day fasting technique, what you should do is you should do keto for at least a month straight so your body gets the adapted mechanisms of the fasted state, because keto and the fasted state are the same thing. Okay, when you're on keto, you're going to spare protein, you're going to spare nitrogen far better. This is proven in a lot of studies, especially ones I've referenced in the Keto Shred. Now, how does this apply to alternate day fasting? Well, if you get keto adapted and then start fasting every other day if you want, what's going to happen is your body's going to waste less protein. It literally can take estimations of around 50 grams a day to basically prevent any sort of nitrogen losses. So on the days you're not eating, you're going to, of course, be fasting outright, right? You're going to be in the autophagy state. So you're going to be minimizing any sort of, muscle protein breakdown unless you're just 4% body fat. So from there, what's going to happen is as long as you are eating enough protein for the week, right, on the days that you're eating, right, then you will not experience any muscle breakdown. But in order to build, you're going to need a significant amount. So I would suggest a higher protein amount on those days than you normally would. And keep in mind, if you're worried about the inflammatory properties of excess protein and whatnot, if you're taking a day, 3 or 4 times a week to not eat any protein, you're going to be minimizing those inflammatory effects. And your body needs fat to digest the protein properly, and your liver and metabolize it. So basically, that's also a further reason to do this ketogenically, because, well, first of all, you probably didn't even get into this unless you were already into the keto stuff. But the thing is, you are going to need excess amounts of fat, or not excess, but a significant amount in order to facilitate that protein metabolism. So how does the plan look? Well, it looks like a very high protein routine on the days you're eating. Of course, lots of training. And if you do that while you're fasted, you're going to amplify the detoxification benefits. But the main thing is, get enough protein and eat enough calories, but the calories are not the whole thing. That's the number one barrier people have to realize with alternate day fasting. It's not about the calories total, because you are going to be burning fat based off of the hormonal effects, okay? You're going to be torching fat from the drop in insulin, okay? Now, I'm not saying that insulin is the only way to lose body fat. That's what a lot of keto people will tell you, and it's only one side of the coin, okay? There's also the caloric amount that's going to be the demand, providing the demand for fuel to be burned. And if you start training while you are fasted as well, on your fasting days, you will maximize the fat burn as well, because the properties of cortisol, when in a low insulin state, are going to amplify fat burning. Cortisol is basically the opposite of insulin, okay? And it's the bizarro insulin, okay? If you've ever watched that Seinfeld episode. And basically, what insulin does is insulin triggers anabolic responses, okay? It doesn't necessarily mean only muscle building. It could be fat storage, it could be protein and muscle building, right? But at the same time, cortisol is like the liberator of fuel. It wants to make things available and broken down for use. So that's the exact opposite of insulin. And when your body perceives that there's no anabolic stimulus coming in, it's not going to risk muscle protein breakdown in the presence of cortisol. Why? Because when your body may have a cortisol rise, which is going to happen from waking up, it's going to happen from training, it's going to happen from daily stress, nothing too crazy, okay? And there's no insulin, there's no anabolic signal coming in. Your body fully knows that it has to be targeting stored fuel, okay? And this is another, hormonal benefit of keto, because when you're minimizing insulin, which is the primary mechanism of what keto causes fat loss with, upfront, before you have to, lower calories and create more demand, what's going to happen is your body's going to know to target fat, because it does not want to burn protein and valuable resources if it understands that the situation is one of scarcity or one of no food coming in, right? Because obviously we have the ability to go to a grocery store, but your body doesn't know that. Your body's a very old survival machine, okay? So when you have that scenario going on, you're going to be targeting fat burn on those days that you are not eating, and on the days that you are eating, you're going to be sensitizing your body to building muscle, because your body, again, is a survival machine. So when it sees that you are in a state of no food at all, it's going to upregulate certain processes that will allow you to build muscle. Which ones exactly? There's a lot. But the main thing is mTOR. So mTOR is the primary muscle building pathway in the body. And when the trigger for autophagy, so the detoxification process of fasting, is basically lowered amounts of certain proteins and fuel. And when you have protein and all food together cut out on a day, every other day of the week, then you start eating food. Your body is going to be, of course, more sensitive to all the anabolic processes. So this could be fat storage, right? If you eat like Twinkies and eat like shit, right, the next day. But the thing is, your body is going to be primed to make insulin do its job properly for muscle building. So this is an interesting concept, which I've spoken about from my carb backloading videos. Insulin-independent glucose transporter translocation. But again, that comes from training in the fasted state or a lowered insulin state. And basically what that means is you're not technically more insulin sensitive, even though alternate day fasting is going to make you more insulin sensitive on the whole. The thing is, what you're going to do is your glucose transporters in your muscle cells are going to position themselves in a way to basically create muscle protein synthesis better. So essentially, you are going to be using protein better if you are training in this fasted state. But again, you can do this intermittent fasting, you do this carb backloading, you can do this on keto, you can do this in a lot of ways, but the effects are simply more amplified. You're in a deeper end of the pool with alternate day fasting. You are going to be experiencing higher endogenous ketone production. You are you are going to be experiencing all the extra fat burning properties of the fasted state, because your body has a metabolic rate. This is one thing you have to understand as far as it goes to weekly calories. Okay, this is what I'm going to end the video on because I want this to be quicker. Your body has a metabolic rate, right? Everybody knows, you need 2,000 calories to stay the same every day, right? So if you don't eat anything, your body's going to take that 2,000 calories from stored fuel and fuel you just ate. Now granted, if you're fasting for a week straight, most of that's going to come from actual stored fuel, and not food that you're eating because you weren't eating anything. But the point is, your body's going to run through the same amount of energy every single day. And if you have enough fat on your body, even if you're 10% body fat, you have a significant amount, thousands of calories worth, then your body has enough fuel to basically meet that metabolic need. So realistically, your body isn't like you're just not, it's not like you have a gas tank in a car and all of a sudden you just don't fill it up with gas. It's getting filled up with gas, just gas from your reserves, your stored fuel, okay? And what happens is your body basically is still fueled adequately. And the only difference, this is why I talk so much about the qualitative side of the coin, the only difference is that your body just now sees that this fuel was created through a different source. So other than food, okay, that you've consumed. So technically, you're not necessarily underfueling your body, right? Even though you're not eating anything. If you're somebody who's coming from a non-keto diet, you're going to risk muscle loss. You're going to risk, underfueling the body, right? But the point is, once you allow these metabolic adaptations to take place, even if your metabolic rate drops a bit from consuming no food and burning through your fat and lowering your body weight, the point is your daily needs will be met from stored fuel. And the only difference is going to be that there's now a signal and a series of signals and processes that are now upregulated to facilitate an adaptation, facilitate muscle building and responses that would be needed to survive. So if you were in primal times and you didn't have food available every other day, right, it was just more scarce, then whenever you did eat, your body would have to make sure it uses that fuel better. So that is it for this video. Make sure you get your hands on the Keto Shred program. Check out my consultations on my site. Leave me some comments. I'll do my best to get back to you. And besides that, also follow me on Instagram. Subscribe to this video. I'm Anthony Romano. Peace.